Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have quite a special beer. This is going to be my first ever Irish craft beer review, and it's shocking. I'm from Scotland, we're very close to Ireland both culturally and geographically, but you just cannot find Irish craft beer in Scotland for love nor money. I think you really have to go to Ireland to get a hold of some of the Irish craft beers. And I've just moved to Lund in Sweden, and one of the first things I've come across is this beer from Carlow Brewing Company, O'Hara's Irish Red Ale. And if you've watched my channel before, you will know that the red beers are a style that are really one of my favourites. So to find an Irish Red Ale that's actually from Ireland, I was like a little kid at Christmas, because I've wanted to review an Irish beer for you, an Irish craft beer for you, for quite a long time, and now finally I can do it. So please, just an appeal before I actually get onto this video, if there's Irish people watching this, please recommend beers for me to have a look at. I would love to do some more Irish reviews on top of this one, and hopefully this is the first of many now that I've finally popped the cherry. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the company. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description for you below. The brewery website, the links to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Carlow Brewing Company, and also the Facebook profile for the channel, and also the Untappd as well. And feel free to connect with me on whatever way you like. Always interesting to hear from you guys, the viewers. So anyway, to tell you about Carlow Brewing Company. So Carlow Brewing Company are based in Munaveg, which is in County Carlow in Ireland, and they were founded in 1996 by brothers Seamus and Eamon O'Hara. Now, over the previous 100 years, there had been a steady kind of decline in the Irish brewing industry. It used to be a very thriving industry in Ireland, but by the 1980s, there were only 3 large multinational breweries that were still operating on the island. So the brewery here, the Carlow Brewing Company, was initially located in the Goods Store, which is in the grounds of Carlow railway station. And initially, the brewery only had a capacity of 15 hectolitres, and they released their first beers in 1998. And this was this guy here, the Irish Red Ale and the Curum Gold Wheat Beer, and this was followed by the Irish Stout in 1999, or the Celtic Stout I believe they call it. But for these beers, they were decorated at the International Brewing Awards in 2000, and quite rightly, apparently these guys are a very good brewery. But initially their market base was pretty export orientated, if you like, and that was just because the people of Ireland hadn't really gotten used to the idea of craft beer yet. But over the course of the 2000s, they were able to expand their capacity in the Goods Store. However, they moved to a new brewery in Bagenalstown in 2009. Apologies if some of these Irish pronunciations are not quite right. Ireland is like Scotland. Some of these places have really unusual pronunciations. But before they moved from their old brewery, the Goods Store, they actually produced one last IPA, which was called the Goods Store IPA, and this was their very last brew in the old brewery. But in 2012, they also added a new boutique distillery to their new brewery, and they also began to brew seasonal beers as well. And the following year, they opened their bar, which is called Brewery Corner in Kilkenny City. And Kilkenny is meant to be quite a nice little town, somewhere I really need to go the next time I get across to Ireland. And when I was young, we went on a big circle tour of Ireland, and it's an absolutely beautiful place, very similar to Scotland, both kind of aesthetically and culturally, if you like. And the Irish are great people, so if you do get the chance to go and visit Ireland, I'd highly recommend it, and it's somewhere that I'm going to go back to in the next couple of years as well. I really want to go back and go all the way around Ireland again. Absolutely beautiful place with wonderful people. But anyway, that's your kind of brief history of the brewery, if you like. So just to list the other beers you can get from Carlow Brewing Company, you get the Irish Stout, the Irish Red, the Irish Pale Ale, Leonfollen, Curum Gold, Double IPA, and also the Irish Lager. Those are all the core range beers, and they also have a number of draft only seasonal beers and also some limited editions as well. So as I say, check out the brewery website. You'll get an idea of what's going on at Carlow Brewing Company with the O'Hara's beers. And yeah, it's meant to be a very nice brewery. As I say, this is one of Ireland's kind of premier craft brewing companies, if you like, and there's a lot of little craft breweries popping up now. I think it's about 40 or so are in Ireland as of, this is August 2015, and I think when I looked it up, there are about 40 of these. So before we get stuck into this beer, let's have a little look at the artwork on this one. It's kind of presented quite classically actually, and I think it's really, the label on this guy is really nice. As I said at the start of the video, the Irish red beers, or red beers in general, imperial reds and everything, I just love this kind of style of beer. So to get an Irish ale from an Irish red ale from Ireland is like, I'm like a little kid at Christmas with these Legos and things, so it's pretty cool presented beer. I'm not sure exactly what the symbol is. I think it's meant to just be, it's just probably an O for O'Hara and a bit of Celtic symbol in between it, but you can see the hop flower. No, it's not hop flowers, that's the not sure if that's the malt, the barley down there, but very nicely presented. You can see O'Hara's Irish Red Ale, Carlow Brewing Company, just on the bottle cap there. Maybe the light's just reflecting off that a bit, but yeah, this guy comes in at 4.3% alcohol, and they recommended that you were pairing it with beef and things like that. Apparently it goes very well with that, but without further ado, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting. Very excited to try my very first Irish craft beer. So, as you can see, a nice smoky opening on this one. But I'm aware, I had a little search to see who else. I know a couple of the other beer reviewers on YouTube, like Paul Romeli over in America, in Pennsylvania. He's reviewed this beer before, so that kind of goes to show that the initial market for the Carlow Brewing Company was export driven. The fact that they found it before me, I'm a little miffed about, obviously, because I would love to review some more Irish beers, like I said, but apparently Paul rated it really quite highly, so I'm very interested to try this beer. So as you can see, it's poured a nice dark sort of chestnutty colour, I would say. Dark sort of rosewoody chestnut colour, kind of a half finger of a frothy, creamy coloured, white coloured head on there. That's going to fade away just to be a very thin, foamy layer on this beer. But it looks really quite nice. I think it is kind of transparent, but it will come across as hazy just because of how dark it is, and the glass has kind of steamed up a little bit too. But there's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass on this one, but quite a few little bubbles just going towards the bottom of the head, and no sediment at all visible in this one, so it should be a very nice beer for us. So let's have a little smell of it before we get stuck in. Oh, really nice nose on this one, I have to say. So you've got all the typical elements of the Irish red beer. This is, as I say, the very first one from Ireland that I'm trying, but I've come across these beers, in the Irish red beers, in New Zealand and Australia, and I've also had a few from America as well. In terms of the nose on this one, you've got a big bready brown bread nose on this one, and you've got a good bit of woody and nutty character coming out too, but there's a good bit of roasted element to it as well, some cereals coming out, and also a bit of caramel in there too, definitely. And the earthy hops on this one are quite noticeable as well, I think. So that's all the elements you would expect from this. Sometimes you can expect a little bit of candied fruit, and some people are known to pick up treacle and molasses in that, and you can pick it up in this one a little bit. You can smell a little bit of the boozy character in this. Even though it is only 4.3%, it does smell a little bit boozier than that, I would say. But yeah, big brown bready notes on this one, a good bit of woody and nutty character. It is quite toasted as well, you can smell that in it, but there's a good amount of caramel coming through on the nose on this one. Maybe a bit of darker treacle or molasses or something like that, and also a bit of earthy hop. But I'm not really picking up much in the way of kind of red fruit or anything like that. Red fruit is another characteristic that you can get a little bit of in some of these beers, but it smells really nice. As I always say, before you try your beers, just have a little look at the nose on it. It's quite a good way to kind of train your nose and to train your palate as well on this one. But anyway, without further ado, let's get stuck into this guy. So this is the O'Hara's Irish Red Ale from Carlow Brewing Company in Ireland. Slangia, as they would say there. And that's really nice, actually. It just comes in, and then the malt base just smooths and spreads over the tongue. It's really nice. But just before you actually think too much about the flavours in this one, sugar it around your mouth a bit and let the whole palate adjust to the beer. But yeah, it opens with a nice sweet but toasted caramel malt in this one, and as you progress into the aftertaste, a bit more of the kind of bready and slightly cereal notes of this beer come out a wee bit more. And there's a definite presence of woody and nutty character in the middle of that palate too. The centre of your palate is almost just blanketed with this big brown bready character there, and it's really nice actually. There's a good bit of caramel sweetness, just goes right down the middle of the palate there, and it works really well. But as you move a bit further out, you've got a little bit of a kind of cereally brown bready character in there, which is really nice, and you can taste the woody and nutty flavours just kind of infused in there. There is perhaps maybe just a wee touch of chocolate or something, just a very small bit there, but it might just be a bit of dark treacle or molasses or something in there as well. It's really nice that the malt base on this beer is actually is quite complex actually. But yes, really quite nice beer actually. I have to say that is for my first Irish beer, first Irish craft beer. It certainly doesn't disappoint. Yeah, beautifully done. In the back corners of the palate, you can pick up these earthy hop characters, and that complements the sort of brown bready cereal flavour in the malty part of the beer really quite well. And as you move further around the front of the tongue, it becomes a bit smoother and a bit more grassy in the hop character. So a nice earthy hop character in the back corners of the palate builds a good bridge with the malt base, as I say, but then it becomes grassier as you move towards the front of the tongue. And there is a little bit of a kind of dark sort of stone fruit or candied fruit flavour. You'll get just a little bit of an oily bubble behind the very front curve of the tongue there, and there's a bit of a kind of fruity character coming out there, some candied fruits or maybe some like figs or something like that. It's not sharp like raisins or plums, it's definitely more of a figgy or a candied fruit flavour, this one. But yeah, really nice beer this. I would love to try this on tap, because normally I think red beers are always best on tap, and you just get a little bit more sweetness from them, and I love a really nice kind of chewy caramel malty red ale, and this one is probably, it's an Irish red beer from Ireland, of course it's going to be pretty awesome, and it had good ratings on Rate Beer as well, and it certainly hasn't disappointed me, this beer. It's beautifully done. But yeah, I would love to try this beer on tap. So I don't know how common that is if you go outside of Ireland, but I really will need to go and visit their brewery corner pub in Kilkenny at some point. Hopefully I can do that in the next year or two. That would be really awesome to go and do that tour of Ireland. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, definitely mid-bodied. It's got a smooth carbonation to it, a little bit oily I would say in the mouthfeel as well, which is quite nice. Helps bring out a little bit of the sweetness of the beer, and also helps the malt base just kind of spread over the tongue a little bit. But very, very nicely done. There is a little bit of a dry and bitter character in the middle of the malt base as well, and that's the kind of cereal elements of the beer, and a little bit of the toasted character as well. As I say, there's a bit of hoppy dryness just around the edge of the tongue, a bit from the smooth grassiness, and a little bit from the earthy character. But the dry character, I think, comes mainly from the sort of hoppy, the malty cereal flavours in this beer. But overall, this is a beautiful beer, and if you haven't tried it yet, I really would recommend it. And for my first taste of Irish craft beer, certainly a beautiful one. And this was one of the very first Irish craft beers in general. So, yeah. Definitely worth having a go of. This is probably, since this is quite readily available in Sweden, I can see myself buying this quite a few times, just for enjoying a few beers at night and things like that. I bought this just as a taster to see how it is for the channel, but the Irish red beers and red beers in general are one that I really like, and this is definitely a very good example of the style. Very, very nicely done. If you haven't tried this beer before, definitely give it a go. Irish craft beer, like I say, it is really hard to come across, so if you find it, definitely give it a go and see if that can help you get into some of the Irish beers. Only other craft brewery I've ever seen from Ireland is the Porterhouse Brewing Company, and you can get their plain porter here in Sweden. But those two are the only Irish beers I've ever seen over here, other than Guinness, obviously. So, yeah, but this is a really, really beautiful example of Irish craft beer, and I'm sure there are many more out there, but for my first taste of Irish craft beer, this one has been a really nice review to do for you. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Go and try O'Hara's Irish Red Ale from County Carlow in Ireland, from the Carlow Brewing Company. Really nice brewery from what I hear, and from this taste of the beer, I would be inclined to agree with the people that say that. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer if you happen to have tried it before. Irish viewers, please suggest some Irish beers for me to have a go at. We'd really love to do some more Irish reviews. I thank you for watching my beer reviews. There will be many more to come. Until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this Irish review, and hopefully there's many more to come. Slàinte.